And I'll just go ahead and start that. Let's see. So everybody knows who I am. Lawrence, I met doing a YouTube about the family dinner, and I'm so anxious to get that going here in the Houston area. And I already got a restaurant where we can do that.
Mhm.
I just need
Awesome.
some direction from you. You kind of want to tell everybody a little bit about your organization and what you do and how we can help here in Houston.
Most definitely. Well, I'm grateful to join you, and really excited about the work that you're doing and what you all are committed to. So I'll start there. My name is Lawrence Adjah. I'm the founder and chairman of Family Dinner Foundation. It started off as an untraditional tradition of dinner gathering, public dinner gatherings, 2 to 4 times per year for perfect strangers in the city. I was interested in the issue of loneliness for about 10 years, seeing how digitally connected we've become, but more isolated and depressed we've become. And so it started off as a dinner in the city for everyone. They put their photos away. They couldn't tell what they did. They hugged. And then they met every other month, and they were doing about 400, 500 people. We got to a certain number, and then we started growing around the world. And we ultimately got to 40 cities in 3 countries, and people would gather 2 to 4 times per year with strangers in public restaurants. The hope and the actual evolution and why reaching out, the connection with Vanda was amazing. I always had a vision for a intentional living community that beyond dinner, that there would be a people committed to mutual care, gathering, and breaking of bread. And so started to go on that journey. And, that's the evolution of it. We've partnered for different age groups, both particularly for families, we've done it, singles. We have a great partnership with AARP. We've done 55 plus. We've done intergenerational dinners around the world. We actually did in Houston, DC, as well as Atlanta, intergenerational dinners. And my goal is, quite frankly, I don't own it. I believe it's a divine vision that I just want to support people and strengthen a community, and sharing it as wherever I can. And so, my hope is that you guys will find benefit, both the mutual care framework, but also the dinners for one another in what you're doing.
We're on it. So we're going to have to talk about that separately because that's totally different from what we're doing. But definitely glad to connect with you. I do want to introduce Mr. Kareem because Mr. Kareem has information on how we can fund our project. And he has to get to the airport. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce this. So, because we need to talk about the money now.
No problem. Pleasure
Mr.
to meet you
Kareem.
guys. Pleasure to meet you guys. How you doing today?
Good.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
Excellent. I'm actually in Miami right now. I was here just finishing up our holiday, and I'm actually on my way back to Kansas City. There's so much weather going on down here and in Atlanta, my layover, that they delayed our flight, but we're going to leave to go to the airport. So if you hear a little wind, it's just me. I'm on the balcony. But Vonda, thank you for inviting me out. We have a bond finance program. My background's in finance. Started off doing mortgages and accelerated to doing businesses and financing and funding a bunch of different things. My main business is I run a software platform, economic infrastructure tools for small businesses and other opportunities. We also own a peer-to-peer texting platform. If you get random text messages from businesses, corporations, politicians, churches, it's probably one of our text platforms. We send out millions of text messages every day, fundraising and helping people get the messages out into the ecosystem. Specifically with the bond program, I met a gentleman in Kansas City, Kansas, named Dan Lowe. Dan is a huge developer in Kansas City. If you look him up, he's one of the top 5 developers in all of Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. And Dan actually introduced me to this bond concept called Star Bonds. And we were able to form a company to do bonds. And we're doing some huge bond offerings. And the bond offerings do not require any municipal interaction. It doesn't require any government interaction. It just requires us to have a product that has the ability to have a tack on tax, or what we call a GIF, a general improvement fee tax, put on top of gross revenue in order for us to be able to create what you call pledge revenues. And we create a credit offering around the pledge revenues in order to be able to help fund out unique opportunities. And so I met Vonda through a good friend of mine in New Jersey who runs the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, John Harmon, and I'm working on several deals with him already. It's a unique bond concept. Many don't know much about it. It's not used very often, but we use it pretty efficiently. Dan, over the course of his development career, used this in over 50 developments, which spans over about $4.5 billion in commercial retail real estate projects. And so it's the tried and true product. And we're looking forward to getting into the ins and outs of some of the things that Vonda sent over to us in order for us to be able to see if we can do a nice bond offering for you guys and help you guys get your project off the ground.
Nice. And then we'll have a big spot to do our family dinners at.
Yeah. So I got a heart for some of the stuff you guys are doing, even the gentleman that spoke before me. You know, I grew up, my mom was on crack cocaine. I never knew my father. And one of the places that actually changed my life was a transitional housing shelter. That was an old elementary school that was able to be transitioned into a transitional housing shelter that gave women with children 6 to 8 months to live, give them access to housing, work, education, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a turning point in my life for me and my family. And so those type of endeavors, we need them in our communities. And they take money, though. And so, you know, if we can help out any way, shape, or form, we're here to help. But our business is not a charity. It's a for-profit business. We make money with it. So if we can all make it make sense synergistically, I'm here. Vonda, anybody, any questions for me before I jet off to the airport?
Good brother. What are some of the, with what Dan has done, what has been some of the bond size of offerings for specific projects, and typically how long does it take to kind of fulfill that bond offering?
90 to 120 days from the time we get the financial advisor involved, which is very, very quick for money. And I think the smallest bond offering did was 20 million for Whole Foods at 119th and Metcalf. We're working on one a little bit smaller right now for PF Change, 5 PF Change that we're doing. And the largest one, maybe either Nebraska Furniture or the soccer stadium in Kansas. I think the baseball stadium was 231 million. And the Nebraska Furniture one, I don't remember the numbers because Warren Buffett owns Nebraska Furniture. And they put in Nebraska Furniture in the Legends Outlet Mall in Kansas City, Kansas, which is the outlet that Dan built from the ground up. And before the bonds could be issued, Warren Buffett bought all the bonds up. So I forget what the number is for that one, but I'm sure that one rivals. It could have been 400 million or so. And the reason I say that is because Nebraska Furniture does $1.2 billion a year in gross sales.
Wow. So
Mm-hmm.
I had sent him our proposal, and I think I had 13 million on ours, and his response was, "Oh, that might not be enough."
Well, see, with the 13 million, if you do a tack on tax, you're basically carrying the cost on to your customers. With the 13 million, if you did a 2% tack on tax, that's like $260,000. I could probably do a bond offering for roughly $1.8 million, which is too small. Typically, we want to see about $500,000 in pledge revenue. So the 260 would be a pledge revenue. So we'd have to probably do a 4% tack on tax to get you at 520,000. 520,000. I can do a bond offering for you for a little bit over 3.5 million. We can make something work that way. And the difference between the 2% and the 4% is not really that nominal, but it does have to be disclosed to your customers when they do come to buy or rent or lease or whatever the product is that you guys are having. Being that it's real estate, it's normally memorialized in some sort of a lease or some sort of an agreement. But if we can get to that point, we can raise you guys a little bit over 3 million and some change. If we can do more in gross revenue or bigger GIF tack on, we can actually get that number up a little bit higher. And the cool thing about this is a lot of people are going to the bond market now to get access to funding because banks are not loaning money. And the cool thing about the bond markets is it is debt financing, but it's a different type of debt financing because it's non-recourse, meaning you don't have to pledge any assets. They're not looking at your credit rating. They're not looking at your financial condition as much as they're looking at the pledged revenues that we're actually generating to be able to make this thing happen. But it does have to go through underwriting. There is a market revenue analysis that has to be done on a projected revenue and quite a few other things. But to me, it's an easier path if your product fits within this product to get access to capital.
Mm.
So my question is, what are our next steps, or what else do we need to give you, or who do we need to talk to get this thing going?
So I'll be back in Kansas. I'll be off holiday. I got a call with the underwriter. I talked to him today about another deal that we got. But I got a call with the underwriter, Zach, coming up on tomorrow. And then after that, I'll be able to get you a bond capacity letter, let you know what the bond capacity could be based on the different thresholds. I just went through 2 of them at 2 and 4 based on the amount of revenue you guys have projected. Based on that and our financial advisor just taking a cursory look at your financials, I'll be able to tell you pretty succinctly what your capacity should look like. And if that capacity falls within the scope of that, which we talked about, which is at least $500,000 a year in pledged revenues, then we can start the process to go from the capacity letter to the term sheet, and from the term sheet to an engagement letter. And after we go from engagement, we go full bore. We're putting together your bond finance team, which includes your bond counsel, your bond financial advisor, the bond sponsor, bond issuer, a bond underwriter, which I mentioned already, and get into the nitty gritty, get our feet in the water, and make it happen.
I love that bond finance team. Well, we've been looking for, Paula, a team.
Nothing happens without a team. They say it takes teamwork to make the dream work.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad to see many of you on here. Sometimes it's just me and Paula here, but maybe that was just because of the holidays. But I'm glad to see you guys here.
Well, Vonda, I appreciate it. I gotta run. I'm about 4 minutes over.
Okay.
But let's you and I keep in contact. You got my cell number. Just text me. I'll text you after I get done talking to our folks tomorrow. But pleasure to meet all of you guys. I hope you guys have a good 2024. Cat Williams started us off with a bang. I hope we can carry it on.
The truth will
Likewise.
set you
Thank
free.
you for joining us.
Thank
Bless
you.
to see you, brother.
It's what Cat said. Winners cannot allow losers to rewrite history. Okay, we winners. We got to keep writing it the way we write it. And we'll catch him. Cat already in 2025. We'll catch him next year.
Indeed.
That's funny.
All right. God bless you guys. Y'all have
All
a
right,
good
safe travels.
Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless.
Bye-bye. All right. Oh, that sounds promising. What do you guys think? I know, Paula, you got on late, but can you hear me? Oh, maybe not. She's having issues with her computer, I think. Charlie.
I'm impressed by his enthusiasm. I was a little bit confused that you went to him with a $13 million proposal, but then later he was talking about he could get us $3 million. What was it? Is that just a portion?
Well, I'm not sure. He asked us what we thought our revenue would be, and based on the RV park and RV storage, we sent him some numbers that we came up with. So
I see.
But we don't even have the land yet, so anything is possible. The guy texted me last week and wanted to know if we were still moving forward, and I told him I would let him know this week because we were meeting with this guy today. So that property might be gone. He might sell it to somebody else. But this is Texas, so there's land everywhere, and if we can get 50 acres somewhere else, 37 acres somewhere else, that's fine. Questions, comments? Anybody else?
I just want to operate in deference to the people who've been here, but if there's no one, I'm happy to offer some thoughts or questions.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, one, it's exciting to hear. I think similar to Charlie, one of the questions I had was that the capacity. Is it a portion? Are they essentially principal on the fundraising, or they only do a certain portion and then you actually have to find financing somewhere else? So wanted to clarify that.
So I don't know the answer to that at all. This was my first time seeing him. I even had to text him to say, "Is this you on the Zoom?" Because I wasn't sure who he was because the name didn't come up as it's in my phone. So his name is Kareem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it was no problem. I think, that's actually secondary for me. The second question was more about how to, when you and I talked, it was how to add value and be helpful to you and what you all are doing. I believe that this is so needed in the world. And I think it could be a model for other people in other communities to take on. The thinking was just like, I think even with the concept about the intentional living community, what I just thought to say is that, without forcing the vision, if you find yourself in a place where it seems too small, maybe that's an opportunity to partner, around making it bigger, because the intentional living community was supposed to be bigger. It was supposed to be a 70-acre plan, right? That's written out. And so if there's a synergy and you're saying, hey, as we're thinking through these other elements to it, one was just saying, is there opportunity for synergy? I think that could be a way to be helpful around the opportunity.
Thank you. Well, you guys are quiet today. Paula, are you there? Oh no, she's still trying to log on. We've been meeting here. What'd you say, Paula?
Well, I did it on my phone, but I'm trying to get out of the computer because it's double leave meeting.
I'm gonna send you the recording, so she missed the first part of it.
I sure did. But I missed the first part, so I don't know. I heard him say something about the bond. He was going to get us the bond letter. So is this a loan or is this what is it that he's offering?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send you the recording.
Okay.
And somebody else can explain it. Because I'm gonna tell you, bonds is new to me. I'm, that was a new thing to me. I just know you can go to the bank and get savings bonds. And then I know there's bonds with municipalities, but what he's talking about is beyond my understanding.
Well, did it sound like this is something doable, or?
He did make it sound like it was very doable. He said he's going to get
in a way it's kind of
finance. Go ahead, Keisha.
I was just going to say, in a way, the way he described it, it kind of reminded me of like a DSCR loan, except instead of it being a loan, I guess they go out to offer bonds to investors or something. Or I don't know if they go out to traditional investors or like credit unions. I'm curious about that. But yeah.
When we spoke on the phone, he mentioned banks and credit unions purchase bonds. So I guess these bonds that people purchase at credit unions or on the stock market is what will be invested into this project. And then I doing a little research today and found that there's definitely money in agricultural bonds as well.
Sounds attractive though.
Yes. So, Lawrence, how do we get this family dinner thing going here in Katy, Texas?
Are you looking to do it as a part of this project, or just in general, just getting it going, period?
For right now, in general, getting it going, period.
Yeah, so historically, we've had a dinner in Houston, But one of the ways to do it is literally, so there's two ways to do it. One of which was that we used to do it in public restaurants. The beauty of public restaurants is that it's accessible. You already have a space. You can go there. You can kind of organize kind of like a kind of a per plate cost, and people are able to go. The challenge, unfortunately, is that you find yourself in negotiations with venues, and often could drive up the cost, to make it happen. We don't. Our viewpoint is just that if you have what we call 2 to 4 leaders who are willing to take it on, for a year, right? To say we'll do a dinner, 2 to 4 dinners, of dinner for the year. You would use that time to identify a venue, typically 6 months, like 3 to 6 months out. From there, you would actually get the word out, word of mouth. We're very big. Everything is word of mouth. Letting people know to use word of mouth. You can email, but word of mouth is our primary, because we were word of mouth for 6 years with no website, nothing. It just gets back. It builds trust, and people know that it's actually genuine. And you would invite people and let them know that we're doing something called a family dinner. The spirit of the dinner, our mission is to connect the world as a family at and beyond the dinner table. And so as long as you have a committed group of people who are willing to serve, to one, go and identify a venue, two, get the word out in the local community by your relationships there, and then three, hosting a dinner. We only have like baseline principles of the dinner. We have a guide, which is essentially like little things. Like, we don't share the guest list, because you're coming there to fellowship, not based on who's there, right? That's one. Two, we try to make sure it's affordable if you're doing that sit down family style dinner for everyone, right? So that's why I think a big thing is finding a venue that makes sense for everyone. Three, I think the big thing is that, for people who join, we try to have at least 10% volunteers. So what that means is that if you have to organize a dinner of 40 people, at least 4 people, volunteer for the day, just to welcome people, just so that they feel at home. We typically look at the venue, the muse as a home. And so I like to host people. I love to cook. And so when someone comes in my house, there's a way I want to make sure they feel the minute they come in my house. So we essentially partner with the venue to make sure that it feels like home. And so that's kind of what, those are the bigger principles of it, and that they're part of a larger movement. And so everything that ended up happening and growing for other cities, that people went and their friends heard about it in other cities, their family members. And so, that they know that this is part of something else. The last major thing is that we invite people when they intend to invite 3 people that they know would appreciate the tradition and gathering for fellowship. And people typically do that, and I think it spreads. And so the other more details, I think I could share that in the guide, so you all can kind of read it in terms of how we curate the experience. But generally, we want this to be accessible to anyone who wants to host it, and they just do it in their own way, unique to their own community.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this could be a way to bring some awareness to This Is Us Texas, because it could be sponsored or hosted by us. And then we invite people, because that's what we're all about, is togetherness and feeling a family and unity. So I think it's perfect. Exactly. And that's how I ran across your video. I guess it was something you said on there. And yeah. I love
what
how
you're
the
doing.
universe brings us together for a common.
Yeah. The one note I would share is that, part of even we view like families. I grew up, we had dinner as a family every day. We weren't allowed to take food into another room. It was every day. And part of even the inspiration when I moved back to the city, I was an investment banker first. And everyone was working so much, but no one got together. People felt it was only networking environments. And so that was an opportunity, the same experience I had as a family. And we did that with our neighborhood. Anytime we had large meals over the weekend, our neighbors would come over. And so I said, our generation needs that, where they were just like, almost like the Cheers, everybody knows your name. Yeah. You can go back and do that. And so, but one of the things I said was that any community, whether you're a family or that you're a community that you're building, we just said we want it to be our mark and tradition that we just eat dinner as a family, whether it's once a month or once a year. That's just what distinguishes us. So we can live together, but what we do is we eat together. And that's part of the way of building trust, because it's kind of hard to share money, share resources, help people out, but you don't have trust. And usually the dinner table is a great equalizer for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. I used to have a monthly family dinner when I lived in Chicago because we know everybody was working, nobody sat at the table anymore. I'm like, well, let's plan it once a month. I think I did like the fourth or fifth Sunday of the month. We would, have it would just be something like spaghetti or something, wouldn't be nothing big, but everybody had to get together, and we intentionally made that a point. And I like that.
Yeah. And just know that you're not limited. Many cities over time, and this is why we had to go to the drawing board after 10 years, is that some cities, like they did it in large halls, community centers. It makes it more logistically, but based on your resources or based on the gifts of people in the community, you could do this anywhere. As long as there's food and people could sit down, you're fine.
So Keisha and I kind of do this once a month. We have a fourth Tuesday meet and greet at various restaurants around Katy and Richmond. And we've been doing it, I think we've been doing it a year now, consistently. And so one of the places that I reached out to was Park Place. It's a steakhouse, Park Place at the Boardwalk. And I sent him your website and he called me and said he loved it. He's like, I'm in, let me know when. So I just need to reserve it. They have a banquet hall at the on top of it. And so they have comedy shows and live entertainment, things like that. I don't know the capacity of it. I'll find out because I'm going there Friday. So I'll find out. And then, like you said, schedule it 3 to 6 months out. And just have to see because we have to reserve it. We got to raise funds to reserve it or whatever, however that goes. And so for financing, how did you guys work that out? Everybody just paid their own, or how was it?
Yeah. So that was part of even the value of having the centralized, volunteers in the organization. So we centralized it. So for example, the volunteers, they would essentially create an event for the dinner, and they would do that 6 months out. And so when people registered, they would pay the per plate cost, right? And so they would pay in advance. And so we grew enough where we didn't necessarily have to put a deposit, or maybe it was a modest deposit up front. So we, as the central, could put a deposit down to hold it. But we would essentially collect the revenue up front and have a deadline. And so now we knew how many people were coming. We had the revenue that we used to obviously pay for people's dinners. And then, in the registration, we put people's names, but we gave real important information. Like there's some key attributes that I'm gonna send in the guide that you look, like we have family moments. So people would have put their name, there any dietary restriction or allergies in the registration form. We would say if there's any pressing needs that they have individually or as a family. We would also play ways in which they want to serve. And then any special moment, it could be birthday, life moment, whatever. And then we would feature that and use that information. But it also had a payment link. So that was the way that we financed it.
Okay.
I just want to say I love the concept too. And I just think that it's even more valuable at this day and age. Like we could really, really benefit from this, society as a whole. So I'm glad that you started it, and Banda, glad that you inquired about it, because I think it's a great idea.
And he's been doing it over 10 years.
Thank you. 16 years technically, 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What a visionary. Thank you.
Thank you.
40 sounds like a lot of people to be an intimate gathering. You wouldn't get to know everybody there. I guess you'd get to know the people at your table.
Yeah, so that's why it's part of even the art, the way we do it, is that at your table, we put dinner tables no more than maybe 6 to 8 people, period. So the first hour, so if I walk you through a quick overview that, we have what we call the welcome hour, the family hour. That first hour is almost like a happy hour style. No one's by their seats. Usually they're by whatever, the bar area. There's no tables, nothing in the way. It's just open. Music is playing. Whatever beverages you have, so we've had many cities who don't have alcohol, some do, right? And then they're able to just enjoy wine, get to meet people. And the volunteers actually introduce themselves, hug them, tell them about the evening, check in on them. But the beauty, even before that hour, this is why we get everybody's information. We've never had a dinner in that 16 years where someone came to the dinner and they didn't receive a phone call beforehand. And the people who called them beforehand were volunteers from other cities. So that's how it really grew. So then when people had a dinner and they registered, we would share the registration list to another city, their volunteers. Their volunteers would take the time leading up to dinner to call them, literally check in on them, welcome them, and say, if there's anything we could do for you, here's what you get to look forward to. So when people were coming in, they kind of already felt the warmth of someone calling, because I know if I'm invited to my house, I'm not inviting them with an email. I'm talking to you. So again, in the back of our mind, we keep as our muse and accountability, someone coming to your own home, how would you run it? And then when they come, I welcome them, like at the table. Usually it's like, take off your shoes, all that stuff. We welcome them from the time that they come in the front door. We take their coats. We tell them about the evening. We say, hey, get this here. And then we often sometimes have icebreaker questions and things that sometimes the volunteers memorize, like 3 questions, or just something for people to do. And the other thing we ask them is that we contract with them. We say, the same way I gathered or I welcomed you, could you welcome somebody else that comes in? So that the people who come in kind of feel welcome, and they do that with the people that come. After the first hour, we then pause, we welcome everybody. Sometimes we do an opening prayer, welcome everyone, or whether they do that or not. And then we let them know the mission, what the goal, and that's usually the time to share. And then we encourage people to sit with people they don't know. And then they go descend upon the seats. And 6 to 8, there's icebreaker cards there. People put their phones in a jar or something away, so no one has their phone out at that time. And then the only time after they get their meal, they order their meal, the only time we speak again is typically for the life moment. So usually people have birthdays in the past month or a month coming up. Any updates that they shared, or they may have shared, like, I got a promotion, I'm in remission from cancer, this thing happened, a testimony, they're able to share, and everyone welcomes them and celebrates them and sings them happy birthday, and then we close. Oh, we also do a big thank you of the staff. Like you went to someone's home, everyone stands up, we thank them, we usually give them a gift to thank them and encourage them and thank them for hosting us.
Nice.
So whatever you need, I'm here to help you and share everything. I really believe in what you're doing, and I see you all as brothers and sisters and partners in making our world more connected.
Thank you. We're definitely going to use your templates and your platform. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? If not, we can adjourn until we have some more news from Mr. Kareem next week. I guess we don't have a okay or a letter to give for the property, so we're just going to table that until we do.
Okay, well, I'll listen to the recording once you send it.
Okay.
See what I missed, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I will talk to you next week, and I'm going to get a date together when we can have our first family dinner at Park Place at the Boardwalk, and hopefully you guys will volunteer to help out.
Is this in Galveston Boardwalk?
No, it's in Katy, across from the mall.
Oh, from Katy. I guess at some point we'll come closer to the middle.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so far, it's not Richmond. And then it's in the evening.
Well, this will be probably one of the best times to have these, Lawrence. Is it Saturdays or Sundays or?
We typically did it on Saturday, and we would intentionally do it either like really like late afternoon, like either it was like 4 to 7, or 3 to 6, or 3:30. Part of the reason we did that is that it allowed people to have their Saturday mornings. People have family, they run around games, or they also gave them an opportunity to also have their evening. So if they came from 4 to 7, if they had dinner plans or they wanted to go to a concert, it ended right on time. And so the minimum time, it typically is 2.5 hours, ideally 3 hours. But yeah, 4 to 7 was usually our sweet spot.
Yeah, that Saturday is at least for me better versus a Tuesday evening. driving to Katy.
Angela and I have our meet and greet, so this is different. This is going to be family dinner, and so there are
Yes,
children
it's it,
that
yeah.
are there too, right, Lawrence?
Historically, when we did that, some people brought in some cities because it was happening in different places. Typically, there wasn't, but I think that's part of the, I think that's part of the evolution of it. That you would, or it, that it wouldn't restrict particularly those with young kids or kids. Maybe you also kind of similar to what some churches do. They kind of have volunteers look after the kids or have something to decide. So there's a lot of creativity to ensure there's no barriers for young families.
Okay, and then we can put our own twist on it however we want to.
As long as the core is there, you're free to do.
Same way we would do our community. We build it however we want it to be.
How many people usually come to the dinner that you have in Houston already?
Well, Houston, again, it paused at the pandemic. So part of even the return now has been, what's the best way to go about the beginning? Because one, when we started, a lot of those people, they're in different stages of life. And so we said, okay, what does it look like for families? And so initially our view is that we were going to do it segmented. So for example, in a place like Houston, let's use an example, that at least once a year, the entire family gets together, meaning that you find some place to do a large dinner. But twice a year in between, you would have, for example, young families, 55 plus, singles, and they would gather, right, during that time. And that would be an opportunity for them to fellowship, but then the family gets together at a minimum once, where everyone, all ages, all stages. And so that's typically it. Now, so that's kind of like the background. In terms of the number of people, historically, Houston would average, and I was kind of, again, a young professional at that time, anywhere from 125 to 150 people they would gather.
Wow.
And so we have photos, things I could share that with you. That's even on the Facebook page. You'll actually see photos, and actually has the city. So whether it's London dinner or the Lagos, Nigeria dinner or the Houston dinner or Austin, you'll see the cities in the album. So you can kind of get a sense of the numbers.
It's called Our Family Dinner, right? I'm going to send the website to you.
But yeah. And you may see now, like often the language uses Family Dinner Foundation. Our Family Dinner is an initiative of that, but either or you'll find it.
Family Dinner Foundation. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
FD.
Yep.
Yeah, it keeps saying your connection is not private.
That's interesting. We had them fix that, but clearly it's not fixed. They said it was just a security certificate that was expired that they updated. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, you can still get to it, press advance, and then proceed to the page. I'm going to call at least the hosting company from there and double check. But hopefully you guys can get to it after you click on that.
Okay. I'll just copy the link and send it to you, Charlie. Sorry, my dog is working. Yeah, that's a lot of people. We've never hosted 150 people. The most we've had at our meet and greets are maybe 40, 50.
You don't have to do it that big. Just sometimes you never know. Like we've had cities, they started off like Dallas's first dinner was 25, in the first year. But then obviously Dallas got big, right? But it doesn't have to be that,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. Do you have any more questions? If not, I will send you guys a recording and your contact information, Lawrence. If anybody needs to reach you, you can go to the website that I just sent you.
Yep.
All right. Well, you guys have a great evening, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.
Have a great evening. Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye.